Hello, everyone. Welcome. This is Marilyn Shannon, and this is Skywire, and I am so happy to have you here. I'm going to adjust this a little bit. Just bear with me a little. This is my very first official hangout, and I'm really excited to be talking to you today. I look forward to hearing from you. Feel free to comment. I'm going to do the best I can and get back to all of you with the comments that I see. And this open discussion, we should be here for about half hour or so, and we're just going to get started. So the important thing that I am always talking about is listening. And listening, we can to multiple levels, multiple dimensions. And what dawned on me is that the more, obviously, we share our intuitive ahas, those are messages from the universe. And the more we share them, the greater all of our experiences will become. So a while back, I had this experience with some clients when some memories were coming up. And I was like, whoa, this is amazing. These memories were not so happy. They were not pleasant memories. And I was sitting here in my room and I thought, wow, what would happen if we took our memories that were coming up, that were uncomfortable from our past, and we put them into our heart as opposed to into our head, a conscious choice to put them into our heart? What would that look like? Because memories in our heart feel and look different, and we could then process them differently than if they were in our head. So what is the difference between our heart and our head? Well, basically, as you know, there's fear in the head. The fear lives in our head, whereas in our heart, love lives in our heart. So let me see if, first of all, okay, so somebody's saying hello. I just want to say, good. Select, okay. Got it. Just want to make sure that I am doing everything that's right. So fear lives in our head, love lives in our heart. So if we take a fear, or excuse me, if we take a memory that was laced in anger, laced in discomfort, total fear about our past, and we put them in our heart, and we allow our heart to engage that memory. We allow our heart to love that memory. We allow our spiritual self to engage with that memory. That memory is going to be different. There'll be forgiveness. There'll be compassion. Maybe there's something in the memory that we're not remembering that we could then change based on putting it into our heart. If we put that memory back into our head, it will be again, and confusion, and we may not set ourselves free from those types of memories. So I'm engaging in this thought. I'm thinking, wow, wouldn't this be interesting? Take our memories and put them into our hearts. Now, good memories are already in our heart. So maybe we can expand them by putting them back in our heart with where we are now consciously. So that's a choice, and that's a good choice. However, taking a memory that is laced in fear from our past and placing it in our heart allows us to engage with it from a love perspective. And in that love perspective, we could make more sense of it. We can heal our past and allow ourselves to go on. I just want to see if there's anybody that has not checked in yet. Okay. If anybody has any questions, please feel free to engage with the chat. One of the things that I wanted to do with this hangout is to be able to talk about the ahas we're having, everyday ahas. And this one that I just shared about memories was one that I had while I was coaching. I had another one this morning that I was in the bathroom and I was drying my hair, and I was like, oh my God, that could be very true. And I'm still processing it, so I'm not exactly sure where I am with it. but I'm going to share it with all of you, and you can write me anytime at Marilyn, Marilyn, at Power of Dialogue, DIALOGUE.com. You can share with me personally on my email. Feel free to Google me, share with me on Google+. That's great. The thing that came to me this morning is that the context that we all tune into, the context, is, I think, the same. This universal context of love, of compassion, of peace is all the same. What's different is the content that we tune into. So our listening, we're supposed to be listening, I think, on a peaceful basis. We're supposed to be tuning into the overall peace, the overall love that the planet has to offer us environmentally, all the good stuff. Where we work individually is in the content. That's what we tune into that can be different. And within that content that we each tune into that is different, that's where actions are. That's where we are given our personal messages of our personal journey, is in that content. So I see that somebody else has just tuned in, so on the chat. That's great. I'm glad to have everybody here. And again, please feel free to send me any messages in here. If you have a question, if you have an aha that you feel comfortable enough having me bring out here, I think that would be great if you do. Because again, my aha is not for me alone. My aha is for you, and your ahas are for me. So here, the difference between putting a memory in your heart versus putting a positive cognitive spin on the memory is framing it in our it's about framing it in our minds. Yeah, that's true. So you put your cognitive abilities surrounding this memory, and it becomes more linear, as opposed to putting it into your heart, which brings on the depth, where you have possibilities of things, where you're not looking for, this is how it went. I was abused, I was loved, I was criticized, I was abandoned, I was this, I was that. That's what happens when you put a memory in your heart, in your head, excuse me. It becomes linear. When you put it in your heart, then the abandonment isn't just the abandonment. It is, my parent was sick. They didn't have the money to give me like they could have. They were limited in their scope of things. I mean, it's not just excuses, but it can be it's the truth. I mean, things do happen. They didn't know any better. You can feel more comfortable with those responses, and those are what heals us. So that's a very good point, and I'm guessing that is from, I don't know, I guess that's from Chris, or whoever that, I think that's from Chris. So that's great. That's a great comment. So good. If there's any others, please feel free to engage. And I hope I'm running that chat right, because it's my first time. So if I'm not, forgive me. But yes, perfect. So getting back to this listening. Listening is broad. It's narrow and it's broad. And tuning into listening will allow us to understand the power in life and life in general. And the essence of understanding lies within listening. It's the bridge to everything. It's not just listening to music. It's listening to all of the nuances that go on around us. It's listening to the weather. It's listening to the sound. It's listening to somebody's body when their mouth is saying something different. But this concept came to me this morning of listening is in the context for all of us really should be the same if we're going to live a healthy, on a healthy planet. If we listen to the context of what and how it could be, the positiveness of things, then the context could be the same, should be the same. It's where we get into the differences is in the content of each of our patterns, of each of our lives. That's going to be different. I might get up differently today than you do. Maybe I get up at 6, you get up at 8. I maybe work out, maybe you have breakfast first. Those are the things we listen to for ourselves. However, context might be that we have to get up and go to work because we have to make money. So here's another. What's the difference between putting a memory in your heart versus putting a positive cognitive spin? Oh, wait, that I did. Okay, here's another one. So the two work in tandem, aren't exclusive of the other. Cognitive approaches are linear, while the heart allows for a broader, more robust emotional context. Absolutely. Absolutely. The heart is going to give it depth. It doesn't need the specifics as the head does. It doesn't, it can go deeper into a cause, deeper into the emotion, deeper into just the feeling. You know, in the head, it's like, it's just one thing. But when you get into the heart, then you open up to any of the possibilities that occur and into forgiveness from the heart. That makes a big difference. Okay, let me see if there's any others. Okay, I don't think so. But please feel free, once again, anybody has any comments, to share them with us here. I'd love to hear what you notice and what you see every day through your hearing, through your listening. And again, is one dimension. You hear me talk, but maybe you don't take it any further. Listening allows you to take whatever it is that I'm saying and take it further. And then the juicy thing is to take it further and then give it back to me, and then I give it back to you. And then you and I can give it back to somebody else. And then that's how we learn and we grow, is that we share these experiences. Another one great aha I've had, which I love to share, is about fear. So often, many of us experience fear. The thing that I understand about fear is that, and I've said this to myself many times, is whose fear am I fearing anyway? A lot of fear we pick up from somebody else. There's somebody else's fear. We heard our parent, we heard a friend, we heard a husband, we heard a wife, our partner, our child, begin to possess the same fears. So I think listening to yourself and saying, whose fear am I fearing? Is this my fear, or am I fearing somebody else's? And is there even a difference? I mean, maybe all of our fears are the same, and maybe they're all linked in. But the point is, there are some that are really not mine, that I really would never even have thought of had you not brought yours up. And then I'm like taking on yours. So check in with yourself and say, whose fear am I fearing? Is it mine? Do I really feel this way? Or not? Is it really somebody else's? And that's a big difference. That's a big deal. So I see other people coming into our chat. Let's see. Anybody have a question? Tracy. Hi, Tracy. And I'm trying to learn how to do this chat. So if I've made any mistakes, I'm going to correct them. But this is another thing. The best way to learn is to try it out. And this is my very first hangout. And I've been wanting to do this for a very long time. But the banner had to be right. This had to be right. The light had to be right. The sound had to be right. My computer top had to be right. Where I'm sitting had to be right. And even these are not right yet. Everything had to be right, but I couldn't wait for everything to be right. I was hearing inside of myself, you can't wait for everything to be right. You just have to go and do it. And I wasn't even sure how it was going to look. And I've been sitting here looking at myself over and over and over again to make sure I looked right. But then I just kept hearing, no, Marilyn, you can't wait. None of us can wait anymore. We all have to come out here and share whatever it is that we know. And we have to share it together in a most vulnerable, humble way. We just have to come out here and share. And I think that these hangouts are some of the greatest things, because it gives us an opportunity for each and every one of us to have a platform to be able to share. And we have a lot to share. And it's the people that we're going to learn from. When we take our power, it's people to people that we are going to generate this power. And I forget about the government, forget about all these things. It doesn't matter. This is forcing us to do these kinds of things with the Hangout where we have the power. We don't have to wait for an ABC, a CBS, an NBC to give us permission to say, do you have something to say? We don't need to wait for that. All we have to do is find that blue button and do it. And I didn't do it right last time. And I'm hoping I'm doing it right this time. And if I'm not, then maybe I'm doing half right. And I'll find out what the other half is. So let's see. Here's something. I do that with the kids. When they are acting all crazy, I ask them what is the feeling behind the way they are acting. What's going on? What are you feeling and why? That's exactly right. You do that because then you can help them get into a position of checking in with themselves and saying, how do I feel? And a lot of times, it's a habit. Feeling can be a habit. You're used to saying something isn't going to be good, or you're not going to be happy with this, or you're not going to be happy with that. But we're used to saying it, and sometimes we say it, and we haven't even noticed that we've changed, that we don't feel that way anymore, that we've grown. So checking in with ourselves is a great thing, so that we then know, yeah, man, I don't feel that way anymore. That was the old me. This is the new me. I now like to eat that. I now like to drink that. I now like to talk about that. So cool, yes, that's a good thing. Your children, that's a good thing and when we do this with our children, it gives us an opportunity to do this with ourselves. So it all works. Let me see if there's any other, let's see. I like that. Whose fear am I fearing anyway? Universal fears. Yeah, that's a very good point. Where are the fear boundaries? It's hard to check on this in the moment. Yeah, universal fears are around us all. That's how some people really think it's supposed to be. They're supposed to scare the what's out of you. And between environmental stuff, between the political stuff, between jobs, your bosses, all of these, entities are very often fear-based themselves, and then they turn around and they place the same fear on you. If you don't have a budget, if you don't meet your budget, if you don't do this, if you don't do that, and at some point we just have to say, you know what? That's your shtick. That's I'm doing great. I'm doing great. I cannot take on that fear. I cannot listen to that fear. I have to look at the good things. I have to look at what's really going on. It's interesting. I wanted to talk some about these selfies because I think they're really cool. And I think it's saying something. It's showing us something. It's showing us that, number one, people are not feeling so terrible. Some people are not feeling so terrible about themselves. It's a very interesting thing when people start taking their own pictures and they're taking them together. And I think it's a very cool thing. Anytime we find these things, it's an indication that things are, they have to come down to a level, the people level, to make a change. And if you look at these kinds of things, change is happening. There's no question. Change is happening. And somebody's waving hello, so I'm going to wave back. Don't want to miss a trick here. And I'm sorry I'm going back and forth, but it's really hard to see what's going on in this chat. And I don't want to miss anybody saying anything to me. So, let's see, somebody wrote, but the ego has to get out of the way. Is ego in the heart or the head or both? That's a very good question, and I love talking about the ego. Well, I think we have the healthy ego, and we have unhealthy. So we have a healthy ego and we have an unhealthy ego. The unhealthy ego has to live in the head. The healthy ego has to live in the heart. And we have both, and we need both. We need the head and we need the heart. And of course, the unhealthy ego is there to teach us something, as well as the healthy ego is there to teach us something. When you love in balance, in a good way, you're coming from your healthy ego. When you love over the top, when you overlove, overprotect, overcare, overcompassion, you're coming from your unhealthy ego. Anything that's over the top is not about the other person. It's about you, how you feel about yourself. So if that's an easy way to check in with, are you in your ego, or are you in your unhealthy ego, or are you in your healthy ego? So remember that. When you are over the top, I mean, love, people are scared sometimes to show their love. When you show your love from your heart, there's nothing to be scared about. When you show your love from your head, oh boy, look out, there's lots to be scared about in there, because we don't know when to stop. But when you come from your heart, you can stop. You know when to say, even to your children. I mean, you could love your children to pieces, but overprotection isn't going to help them. Love will let them go. Love will say, you know what? They're this age. It's time for them to do now what's next. Or it's time for them to have this experience. Or maybe it's time for them to make a lesson happen. I call mistakes lessons. So maybe it's just time for them to have a lesson. And it's time. So you check in with yourself with love. And you say, am I controlling or am I loving? And if I'm loving, I'm not controlling. I'm being responsible. And if I'm being responsible, then I can let go. And I can let other people handle what they have to handle. Let's see. The ego has, so, right, Roz, we need to say what needs to be said when it needs to be said. That's a bumper sticker. Great, absolutely. We need to say what we need to say when we need to say it. And when we come from our heart, we trust ourselves to be able to know what we're saying is perfect. It's perfect. Even if it doesn't come out perfect, it's perfect because somebody else needed to hear it, or we needed to hear it ourselves in order to do something different. So when we come from our heart, we have trust, we have patience, we're comfortable. And we know that if we do say something that needs adjusting afterwards, then we can go and adjust it. Time doesn't even matter as long as we do it. I mean, sure, if we say something mean to someone and they're in pain over it, yes, it matters greatly. However, it's better to say it sometime than never to say it at all. It's better to go back and apologize a year from now than to tell yourself, well, it was a year ago, it's probably done. It's always good to clean something up. And it can create a whole new relationship. So, let's see. Let me see if I'm missing anything here. Wait for the perfect moment. Okay, sometimes we wait for the perfect moment. Isn't that when you first have the gut feeling or intuition to do or say something? Yes. And I call those perfect seconds fleeting moments of genius, because they're fleeting and you want to try to catch them as quickly as you can, if you can. And sometimes we're distracted. Sometimes we're not, focusing on that. But let me say, the cleaner we get, the more our listening is cleaner, the more we clean out the yuck, the more we can grab those fleeting moments of genius. And I'll tell you something, which is very interesting. So in those fleeting moments of genius, If I don't say it right now, I don't have to worry about it because it's coming back to me. Because things are so much cleaner and clearer that I don't think that if I don't get it that second, I'll never get it again. I'm not as cluttered. When I'm very cluttered, and when I used to be very cluttered, those fleeting moments of genius, oh my God, if I didn't get them when I heard them, I would like, oh my God, they would be in this whole yucky mess, and I may not ever get it. But I don't have to worry about that anymore. The cleaner I become, the less toxic I become, the easier it is for me to like, oh, I heard that. I don't have to deal with it right now. I'll come back to it. And I just put it off to the side, and then I can come back to it later. It doesn't always have to be said. And sometimes there's more to hear. There's more to listen to after a gut feeling. There's something else. That might be the little tip of the bird. And then you come back to it, and then there's a little bit more, a little bit more, and a little bit more. And then maybe it's right. See, but your listening will let you know when it's right. Your listening will let you know when it's right for you to do that, for you to say that. Let's see. Let me see if I have, let's see. We wait for the perfect. Okay, we did that. We talked about that. Let me see. Okay, part. So and we just learned that the tuna fish in the Pacific contains 3 times as much radiation as it did in March 11th. Fukushima. Today, let's see, learn ocean acidity is dissolving shells of teeny snails. Well, that's okay. So this is so that's awful. And I guess I wonder, Debbie, I wonder if you wrote that about how bad it is. Terrible. But here you go. This is, I mean, we have to know these things, and we have to take them into account. But at the same time, we have to be really smart with what's going on in the environment and everything else under the sun. And it can't stop us from living. It can't stop us from being with each other. It can't stop us from talking like this. But what it does do, it makes us smarter. And it says, okay, guys, there are people who still don't get it. I mean, there are still people who think that you can dump stuff in the ocean, or you can do this and it's going to be okay. There's still people who don't think they're breathing the same air we're breathing. Well, we have to get to those people. We have to let those people know your children and your grandchildren are breathing this air. And so we can't stop. I can't say, well, if this is depressing, I just don't want to even do anything in this planet anymore. It's all going to hell in a handbasket. No, we have to get together. Everyone that's listening to this call, or this hangout, anyone that will ever listen to this, or anybody else's hangouts that make a difference, and everybody else on Google Plus, and everybody that has a good connection. We have to keep going like a team and keep getting stronger and stronger so that our energy, our message, is far more powerful than the negative stuff, ego stuff that's going on, that's destroying our oceans and destroying our food and the quality of air that we breathe. So we just have to keep strong, and we have to keep doing this. Let's see. Let me see. What other questions do you have? Anybody else have any questions that I can answer or talk about? Just put a comment up here, and we'll chat about it. And if you would love to be in this chat with me or in this hangout with me, I would love to have you join me. Let me know. Google me. Just write me at Marilyn@powerofdialogue.com, and we can, next time we do this, we can have, some other people in here talking with me and having other people engage with us and just have this open dialogue. I mean, one thing I know is that people want to talk. People want to share, people want to talk, people want to be heard, people want to be listened to. And very often, we don't always have that opportunity. And I'd like to create an opportunity here where everything is possible and anything is possible, and we can just talk. And the more people that we can engage in this open talk, the better it will be. So if you have a topic that you think is interesting and you would like to bring it up, you know, something you've been thinking about, bring it up. If I've said anything that you agree with or you don't agree with, chat with us right here. Let me know what you think. Let me know the pieces of what I said you agree with or you don't agree with, or what you can add to it, because I only have a piece. And I'm thinking out loud with my heart and my head. So if you have other things you want to share, you go right ahead. So I was going to do this for a half hour. If I'm missing a comment, I'm going back up to the stream to see if I have missed anything. Let me see, because I don't want to miss anybody's questions or comments. And I think that everything in here, I feel like I have, or we have, addressed for the most part. So get in touch with me. I'm going to end this now, unless I see another question or another statement that I have not engaged yet. Other than that, I do. Let me see. I'm giving it one more look. Okay. With that, this is Skywire. And Skywire is a facilitation. Skywire is about people coming together and sharing and talking. And that's what Skywire is. And then we're just going to send it up to the universe. Okay? That's Skywire. So it's really nice to share this time with you. I will be doing this again. If you have any comments, please let me know. And with that, I'm going to stop the broadcast, and I will see you all very soon. Thanks so much for being here. Bye, everybody.